Supposed to be out of here by 6:30 tonight, but I want to talk some Pete Rose. We got a call from Cal. It is kind of the big news. Fill in any details that I missed, Steve, but Major League Baseball, in what can be viewed as kowtowing to President Trump, by the way, has made it so that, hey, guess what? If a baseball player on the ineligible list, which means they can't be voted into the Hall of Fame or can't participate in Major League Baseball in any way, shape, or form, if they die, much like Jon Snow at the wall, the vow is over. The ineligibility is over. So, therefore, many right now, I understand, but the two headline ones are Shoeless Joe Jackson from the 1919 Chicago White Sox, aka the Black Sox, and Pete Rose. They're eligible technically to be included in the museum that is baseball's Hall of Fame. Steve, overall, am I correct in that assumption of that story?
Ken, that was an excellent summarization. You're damn near a journalist. I believe, yeah, as you said, they can be elected starting in 2027 by the historical committee or whatever the hell it's called from the MLB. It's a group of 10 old guys that decide whether or not, other old guys can get into the Hall of Fame. And yeah, so this is very controversial because, as you said, Shoeless Joe Jackson, the famous Black Sox, the throwing the game scandal in the World Series against my Cincinnati Reds way back in 1919. All sorts of stuff. Was he involved? Was he not involved? Did he confess? Did he not confess? Was it just the whole thing? There's a million stories and documentaries about Shoeless Joe Jackson. And then Pete Rose is the hit king. Again, Cincinnati. Man, why are my Reds involved in like cheating scandals? I don't love this.
I'm not making any comments on Ohio.
Well, hey, astronauts, back off. We have astronauts. I was also born in Ohio. So, like I said, I'm not from anywhere. I lived everywhere, but I was born in Ohio. But yeah, anyway, Pete Rose, it's one of those things. Ken, my just opinion on it, again, we can all acknowledge Pete Rose is a shitty human being. I met Pete Rose once. He signed one of my hats. I made a joke about horse racing. It was kind of funny. It was sad. We were in a mall in Vegas. It was empty. We were all really hungover. It was like 10:30 in the morning. He was signing autographs. There was nobody else in the sports memorabilia store. But not a great dude. But you can't have a Hall of Fame telling the whole story of baseball without like acknowledging in some way the person who has the most hits. It doesn't mean you have to glorify them. Like, we can educate people. We can use the Hall of Fame and the museums to educate the people about the whole story. That's kind of the point, right? Like, you don't have to just bar all these dudes from it. Like, you can put them there, and it doesn't mean you have to put them on a pedestal, literally just like the other people. But you can still tell the story of the sport and include those guys, but also give context. Like, we're not all morons. Like, and if the kids, well, the mom, dad, whoever's bringing them to the thing can tell them, yeah, this dude hit a bazillion balls. Hey, guess what? He's also a terrible person for X, Y, and Z, and he bet on the game, which is a big no-no. Right. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, again, I'm not the first to say this. Dan Patrick says this a lot. It is a museum. It is also not Major League Baseball. I think that's one of the big confusions. They could have done this at any time, but Major League Baseball has them on the eligible list. One Hall of Famer, Roberto Alomar, is in the Hall of Fame. He is also on the baseball ineligible list. They didn't pull him out of the Hall of Fame because of crimes he committed. Not good. Look up the story of Roberto Alomar. I after years of going back and forth and like in that documentary we talked about, I think around the time the Blathering kind of really kicked into high gear, we watched that Pete Rose doc. There's not compelling arguments either way, like on both sides, but I come down to, I think, where Bob Costas came down on, put them on the list to be voted and just see what happens. Sure. I think at this point, because it's a smaller committee, it's not sports writers, I think it will happen. Watch the Johnny Bench interview, who has been Pete Rose's teammate, who also, over the years, it seemed like he didn't want it, and he did want it. He kind of has the idea of like your idea, get him in, acknowledge him in some way in the museum. It's hard to tell the story without it. There are, and I think a lot of people posting a lot of things that Pete's done that are horrible, if not even maybe criminal, if we were to look more into his relationships and stuff like that. This is an excuse for Pete, but there's obviously a lot of people in the Baseball Hall of Fame that aren't angels too. But I think it was hard for me to stand on the no in the Hall of Fame side for betting, which again, is kind of the reason, right? It isn't the shitty behaviors in person. It's the betting. When Major League Baseball is sponsored by FanDuel and all the stuff that we know about, it doesn't wash it out for me because it was and still is forbidden. But it's just like I had that was my feeling towards it all. Like, am I just swimming upstream? I think I'm just swimming upstream. And the fact that they may have waited, I think intentionally waited until he died so that he could not be on stage to say anything. It's probably going to be we're going to have to live with.
Yeah, and I think you don't have to induct him in the Hall of Fame in the same way that
the revelry
and everyone else does. Like I said, because he doesn't deserve that for all the stuff off the field and everything related that kind of drips into on the field stuff. He doesn't right. But like I said, it's just you can give the museum context, museums in. I don't try to be preachy, but other we need things in our museums that hurt to understand everything that's happened and understand the stuff, right? So
I like that angle on it.
That's all.
Yeah,
that's all.
I agree with it. He eventually did, as Alex C said, he did eventually admit to betting on the team only in wins. But a lot of people say he also never apologized for it. We're not saying that in some pious, self-righteous way, but just see till his end. He never acknowledged it. Also, why would he? Because he made so much money off of it. This became his thing. Yeah, he had a career off of it. Not being in the Hall of Fame was a good financial arrangement for him.
It was a brand for him. When I met him in Vegas and he was signing stuff, one of my uncles made a joke when we were walking out, like, "Oh, Pete, they ought to let you in the Hall of Fame." He said, "Oh, don't bet on it." Like it was like this whole catchphrase that he said 400 times over that day, except he didn't because like I said, the mall is very empty. But
most of them all.
Yeah, well, he's there all the time. But no, that's very it's weird. It's a weird thing. You don't have to give him the whole treatment. Again, he's dead, so you can't go the whole bust and kind of do the.
Well, that's the thing. When you hear Pete Rose might be in the Hall of Fame, you think of a sunny day in August with a crowd cheering on, someone giving us. I enjoyed baseball. I'm so honored to be here. Yeah, it might not be that. Maybe you have his son speak, if at all. I don't think you do. The other thing is the other part of the conversation is I do believe Shoeless Joe Jackson should be in the Hall of Fame. Shoeless Joe Jackson. I do believe Shoeless Joe Jackson should be in the Hall of Fame. I believe when you relitigate that entire situation, he's not innocent, but there's so much more to it. Similar to what, I'll say similar, but it's a big leap. It's a murder. But the Menendez brothers and so many people going, when you dig into it, and there's the docs and the podcasts that have come out, they are guilty, but maybe in a different way. And I do believe that with Joe Jackson, an illiterate farm boy who did not know really what was going on, who refused to partake, batted 400, and did his darnest to win the series. Say it ain't so, Joe, but I think now, over 100 years later, having him in there in some fashion, because again, what are you gonna have his fourth grandson or fourth generation grandchild speak for him? It's probably not gonna happen, but just having him in there.
Right, again, telling the story. That's what it's about for me. Telling the story.
Yeah, telling the story of baseball. All right, there you go. I promised it. It was a thumbnail, and I want to deliver on my thumbnail. So there you go. We talked about it, but it is fascinating, and I do believe it's a bit of a bend of the knee to Trump. I really do. It's part of the story. It is part of the story because he asked for it.
I don't think. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think this happens without his kind of foot on the scale, so to speak, and the kind of the whistles he's put out about it, but yeah,
and it's just be one more thing. But that's a different conversation that we'll gladly have here. All right, we're almost out of here, but I think.